Recording, I'm hungry. Whatever.
Hello, my little Luxes. Welcome to another little channel of horrors. I'm your host, Charcy Lux, and with me is my best friend and partner in crime.
I'm tired. I'm DC. Yeah, that was weird.
Quite the introduction.
My
Here,
phone, when I said DC, apparently my phone thinks I said Bigsby. Uh,
I thought I could hear something. So.
yeah, that's weird. But yeah, it popped up. It's like, what did you say to me? How dare you? Because see, Bigsby ain't like Siri. Siri's just like, how can I help you today? Bigsby's like, the fuck you want? Because Android, it's where it's at, man. That's where you go. If you want all polite, normal tech, then like technical crap, you go with Siri. If you want just balls to the wall awfulness, you go to Bigsby.
I was going to say, or the obnoxious one is where you have Alexa.
Oh
What?
yeah, hell you want?
So, we had a fun film that you had picked this time, and it was kind of revisiting a writer slash director that we had visited before. And this one was your pick. What was your pick?
Oh, it's Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Mhm.
That's pretty much that's the best film he's ever made, easily. And like he hasn't had like a I wouldn't say an absolute ton of hits. I mean, he had 300, he had Dawn of the Dead, he had Owls of Gahul, but then when he went to the DC universe, it was just like so yeah. Oh well.
All
Actually, Man of
downhill
Steel was
for,
all right. Man of Steel was all right.
I
So
was going to say, it felt all downhill from that point for you. But a lot of people aren't impressed with DC, especially compared to when
yeah.
we talk about Marvel films compared to DC. It's gonna be weird saying DC and you're DC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's DC and I don't like DC. So like I mean the movies are not great. Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey. I'm sorry for those who liked it, but those were just crap movies, man. Ugh. Like Batman versus Superman, and I didn't even like the Snyder cut of Justice League. It was so long. It's like no, but then there's Dawn of the Dead, which was awesome, and it was also
Mhm.
written by James Gunn. So it's another plus because James Gunn wrote Guardians of the Galaxy, Slither, like really good movies.
Yeah.
So and it's clear. Well, he has a writing credit. He apparently didn't write the whole movie. He just wrote a lot of it, but he actually went off to do another movie, and they finished writing it for him. But I forget what movie that was. Scooby Doo. It was Scooby Doo.
Oh,
He went on to write. He said, "I don't want to write Dawn of the Dead. I want to write Scooby Doo." Like, good job, dude. All right, want to write
and his
children's
version
movies?
was yeah, and his version of Scooby Doo was a lot darker than the usual normal Scooby Doo. So
Yeah. I think it was Scooby Doo 2 because I think he wrote Scooby Doo 1 before this movie. Because I remember when they announced this movie and they announced that James Gunn was writing it, a lot of people were just like, oh my God, you're going to have the dude that wrote Scooby Doo write this movie? And it's like, I mean, he would go on to write Slither. I think he even directed Slither, and Slither was awesome. So there was an amazing horror film. So, but this is Dawn of the Dead is one of the very few good remakes out there. It's a very, very good remake, but you know, it has its moments.
which you and I were able to watch this one together that we could find time to do it and did the undirected director's cut, which still isn't technically a Snyder's cut because it was only what, an hour and 46 minutes long.
Yeah, hour
So
46. I think they added like 12 minutes or something like that. But yeah,
yeah.
it's the unrated director's cut, man. That's where you go. But I mean, I saw this movie in theaters, so
Mhm.
yeah, I like that. It was just
Like,
this is good. It's just a good movie. So
I remember this one in the theaters as well, because that was around the time frame where I finally was getting into horror movies, because I want to say 2002 was when I first started getting into horror. So,
Yeah, it's well, I mean, saying it's like one of the best remakes. The best remakes are always remakes that it is a remake of the movie and you take the same basic plot, but you make it your own. Like you make it your
mhm,
own freaking film. Like Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead was kind of like that. It was they
yeah.
took characters and switched them around a little bit. It was very cool. I mean, with this though, Dawn of the Dead was really just the basic premise because no characters were the same. Nothing. The side plots weren't the same. The only thing, this was just a group of people trapped in a mall in a zombie apocalypse. That's all they took from the original. And I can say for myself, this movie comes nowhere near as good as the original. Like it's a good remake, but Romero's Dawn of the Dead is still like that is
Superior.
yes, top notch, great. And I know a lot of people, oh, they have blue zombies, and it's like, well, the reason why they were blue is because the movie was supposed to be in black and white. So I'm
Yeah.
like, but there was a lot of hate towards this movie as well, though. A lot of hate. So
Which you had noticed when you had originally put up your post about it too. And a lot of the backlash about it technically is about the fast zombies, which it's like, how many zombie films we have out there now that have both versions of the zombies? It's like,
yeah,
why is it that big of a deal? Like, I can understand having a different opinion about it and liking something more than the other. Like the one guy that I was communicating with, I think it was Sean, where he's like, I appreciate the slow ones more because they are creepier to me. Whereas me, I'm like, see, the fast ones scare me more.
yeah,
But it was just us having a conversation. But there are some people out there that were like, no, you're wrong. Fast zombies shouldn't exist. They should be slow. I should be able to run away from them. And it's just like, okay.
yeah. And I was just sitting here like, okay, if you want to break it down like scientifically, it's like, well, I'll skip the big scientific thing. But first off, if there's a horde of zombies chasing you and they're slow, you're gonna run. They're still chasing you. You have a chance to stop and breathe and breathe and run again and put more distance in between you. It's like, yeah, you'll get tired, but you'll find someplace to hide by the time they catch you. It's like I love slow zombies. That's where it's at for me. Like I do believe that slow zombies are better, but at the same time, like you can't argue that one is better than the other. Especially we had two or three people that were like, fast zombies can exist. It's like I believe the fuck they can because zombies don't exist. It's like you
So
can't
whatever you want to have.
it's a fictional construct. You can't say that a fictional construct can exist, especially a fictional construct spawning from a fictional construct. It's like no, they can exist and they do exist. Like who cares? Like if they were terrifying. It's like there was only one part of this movie, and when we were watching it, and I was like, there was only one part of this movie where I was like, okay, that's stupid. And it was when the zombies are running after him and they run up the stairs and the zombies stop at the foot of the stairs and just stare at him. And I'm like, okay, that's stupid.
Where
That
you had even mentioned that people have even asked Zack Snyder, like, what was the point of doing that? That's very bizarre.
yeah, and even Zack Snyder couldn't answer. He said I had to build the tension somehow. And it's like because they were like, why did they do that? I don't know. Well, so what? It's his movie. Like and if that and I was when I was telling you is like if that is the worst thing that happens in the movie, that's a pretty damn good debut. Like it's a good
That's
one.
true.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
and I got to see Phil Dunphy in a sex scene and be a complete asshole, which is awesome because Phil Dunphy's awesome. Oh yes, Ty Burrell. Shout out to the Ty Burrell. God, I love that guy.
Well, you were talking about how much you loved him from Modern Family
Yes.
and just how his characters are polar opposite from each other, from his character in Dawn of the Dead
Yeah.
to Modern Family. But that just kind of tells you how good of an actor he is that he can pull that off.
Oh
But
yeah.
there's not a single character that I didn't dislike in the film whatsoever. I mean, they were
Yeah.
good at their job that I disliked the character I don't dislike the actor or actress,
No.
but and some of them might have been a little bad at what they were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a part you kind of made fun of a certain someone with her bad acting.
Oh yeah, the daughter. Oh my god. Whenever they're like talking about they're like finally tell the dad, who's played by Max Headroom himself, and she's like he's and she just the dude is they're like, look, it's the bites, you're gonna die and you're gonna turn. He's like, are you sure? And then she grabs him around the neck and hugs him. No, 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 daddy, no. Like, god. And then they made it worse by zooming in on him and having him being like, it's gonna be okay, in like a freaking Matt Damon from Good Will Hunting, just great tear scene. You're like, god. And she's
where you had said it perfectly. You're like, where you have this outstanding actor doing a really good job of what he's doing, and then you have her that it's a little too over dramatized. You can tell it's fake crime.
Matt Frewer is the guy who played the dad. I think he played Max Headroom, and he was in Steven Spielberg's Taken, which was a great miniseries. So yeah, it's well, the whole thing. I mean, there's 3 cameos from the original Dawn of the Dead. There's I mean, you got Ken Foree in there, which I mean, Ken Foree just has, it's just the greatest religious blaming people with religion monologue. He's like, just the whole, you have premarital sex, you have man-on-man relations. He's like, this is the reason this is happening. Because when
you're
there's
a sinner.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. And it's like, you're just saying like, oh man, this is just the most, it's just the greatest. And like, and it coming from Ken Foree, who is not a homophobe at all in real life. It's just, it's so great. He just delivers it in such a great way. I love it. And Tom Savini is also another one of the cameos, and Scott Reiniger from Dawn of the, all those are from Dawn of the Dead. They were in the movie, and they are in a cluster, so they're all together, and you'll see them very quickly together. It's very cool. I love it. Great movie.
They're part of the news crew that they keep like going through, and different cameos before the power and the type and everything goes out. So, which I think you were the one who had told me that it's proven that, and if everybody disappears and nothing's being run anymore, that it's about a week or 2 weeks before power would actually shut down and permanently shut down.
Yeah, it all depends on what kind of power you have. You can have water power, wind power, whatever, depending on wind power probably won't go out, but like, you know, you can have several, like, and then power will go out, and the power eventually does go out. You know, it's very cool. I mean,
not for them.
It's about as realistic as a zombie movie is going to get, I guess. Besides, like Night of the Living Dead, because Night of the Living Dead is like that is pretty much what would happen. Like people would just panic and go hide in their houses and die. So, oh yeah. But
I was gonna say that's probably the truth of it. You'd have the few that are survivors and fighters that could handle themselves and take care of it, but most people would just cower at home and be eaten.
Oh yeah. It's just, you have I mean, it's got this, the cast in this movie though was just not just Ty Burrell. I mean, Ving Rhames, Marcellus Wallace himself. As soon as he came on the screen, I was like, hey, does he look like a bitch?
No.
I was like, not. I don't know if she's going to get that or not, but she did, so it's okay.
I did.
Yeah. Sarah Polley, who is phenomenal. I love Sarah Polley. Jake Weber, which is weird because Jake Weber actually auditioned to be Steve, the asshole, and Ty Burrell actually auditioned to be Michael. Like they actually auditioned for each other's parts. And like, and I think about it, and it's like Ty Burrell could have played Michael. He really could have. He could have been the nice guy. But I don't know, because I don't know much about Jake Weber. I don't know if he could play Steve. I don't know if he could be.
I think he could. I think he could.
I don't remember.
Kind of got that persona that I've seen in other shows and films that I bet he could have pulled it off.
Oh yeah.
Let's
Michael
face
Kelly
it, it's
played
easier to
CJ.
be a dick.
Yeah, he could. Michael Kelly played CJ, one of my favorite roles in the movie. He's just because he is actually, if you really watch the movie, CJ is the only one who actually has a character arc. He's the only one who changes. Everyone else is kind of the same, but CJ is the asshole to a good guy, and it's like it's really cool. Mekhi Phifer playing Andre. He played Andre. Mekhi Phifer was the father to be. So yeah, and Linda Booth was the one that played the daughter, but oh well. Then you have Kim Poirier as Monica. She's kind of the sex pot. She's the one that Tom Burrell has sex with. And then I don't know who played Luca. I don't remember her name. So I know it's her last name starts with a K. But yeah, Luca, like it's a very, she was the one that there's always one person.
Luca or Luda?
Luda. It is Luda. It's Luda. You're right. It's Luda.
Ina Korobkina?
Yeah, that's the one.
Very unique name. Yeah.
But there's always one in a zombie movie who gets bit and doesn't tell anybody. She gets that role. So it's actually her and Mekhi Phifer. Her and Andre don't tell anybody. So
yeah. And she's also technically a pregnant character. So it's not even technically just her that's infected. It is also her unborn child, which that was, I want to say, is this the first time that they've ever done like a zombie baby?
I'm sure that there's been zombie babies in Italian horror. There has to have been, because that is definitely something Fulci would do. So I'm not going to flat out say this is the first zombie baby, because
maybe the first American
zombie baby. Maybe, because something in my head is telling me that Fulci had a zombie baby. Like I don't know what movie, but maybe House by the Cemetery or The Beyond. But like something tells me. It was
let's find out.
But I saw this in theaters, and those moments, there were moments that got the crowd going, and that was one of them. When Mekhi Phifer, when Luda finally passes away, and Mekhi Phifer puts his head on her chest, kind of like a goodbye thing, and you see her belly go. That I heard every woman in that theater. We were in a packed house. There were people sitting on the stairs. Like there was you could hear every woman that plays go, no, oh my god, and like that. And it's like and then when the baby comes out and you see it, and everyone's like, oh my god. And the other moment was when people realized that it was Richard Cheese singing "Down with the Sickness." Whenever people heard "Get Up, Come On, Get Down with Sick," and yeah, and the celebrity sniper scene. When they blow off Jay Leno's head, and you see Jay Leno, everyone in that theater just cracked up and cackled. This was definitely one of, it's not the greatest theater experience I've had, but it's one of the greatest theater experience I ever had was Freddy vs. Jason. That was so much fun. Everyone was having so much fun with that movie. But this was a close second or third. It was a really good one.
I was gonna say my favorite theater experience with a crowd was definitely the Jay and Silent Bob reboot one. So
that one should have been mine, but no, people, because
it didn't make it.
I saw it with a bad crowd because people weren't even laughing, and Kevin Smith was in the room.
See, that's bad. That's bad. What? That's really bad.
Yeah, people weren't laughing, and I'm like over there cackling at all the jokes. I love the reboot, but I'm biased though. Like the only movie Kevin Smith ever made where I was kind of like, was Yoga Hosers, because I watched that and I'm like, this movie is not good. But whatever. Did you ever find out about Zombie Baby?
They keep talking about something from The Talking Dead, but I'm like, The Talking Dead, isn't that a talk show for The Walking Dead?
Yeah, but there may be a Talking Dead movie though.
Let's see.
So I mean, it's
Talking Dead. Oh yeah, that's about The Walking Dead. So I'm like, why? Okay, so Brain Dead. I think Brain Dead is.
Brain Dead. Yeah.
Brain Dead's the first one. Okay, I finally found it.
I forgot about Brain Dead.
Brain Dead.
Yeah, Dead Alive, Brain Dead. So it was, but
Just,
that's still not an American movie. That's New Zealand.
no, it's not. But it's claimed as the first one to have a zombie baby. So Dawn of the Dead could be the first American film with a zombie baby. So
I can't believe I couldn't remember that. I can't believe I forgot about Dead Alive, man, or Brain Dead,
it
you call it.
it's been so long since I've actually seen that one. But it's like I can remember so many parts about that one, like the scene with the lawnmower.
Yeah, the ear falling in the porridge.
Ugh.
Yeah,
That's for different reasons to remember that. Though.
yeah. But it's like it's just, oh man. But it's all in all, the great film. I mean, like oh man, some of the shot. Now, I will admit one thing that one person brought up whenever I had my post about, hey, do you like Dawn of the Dead? Blah, blah, blah. You know, one thing one person brought up that was a negative that I will 100% agree with. What he said, the first 20 minutes of this movie are phenomenal. The rest of it goes downhill and starts to suck. Now, I don't agree with him on the suck thing, but the first 20 minutes of this movie is the best part of this movie. Like, it's because Escape from Suburbia is what they call it. And once they get to the mall, the movie does kind of start going downhill. But the first 20 minutes when she's just escaping, and they had that beautiful shot of the truck running into the gas station, which was a shout out to Night of the Living Dead. So, because in Night of the Living Dead, Ben talks about chasing a truck that slams into a gas station, and that's exactly what happened. So, but other than that, like, that's great. The little girl with the first zombie you see is a little girl, like couldn't be over 8 years old. So it's like, God.
I think she was about 10 or 11 when they did that, and they had to get really specific special permission in order to do the prosthetic makeup for her. And you have to be very careful about makeup. Makeup laws with kids are so much different than regular FX makeup that you can use. So I think literally every day before they did the scene with her, they were asking her parents and the girl, making sure, are you comfortable with doing this? Do we have permission to do this? And it's like, now we have zombie children all the time. Like The Walking Dead had the little dead girl with, I think, her teddy bear, like in the first episode. So
it was, and it's horrifying when you see her. I mean, my thing about that whole scene though was like, that was not their daughter. That's one thing in the movie that's sort of
the neighbor.
Yeah, she was the neighbor girl.
The neighbor.
And they're laying in bed. They wake up, and the little girl is in the doorway. And he's like, hey, I forget her name, but she's like, she's here. Now, me, if a little girl from next door is in my doorway, I'm not saying, hey, she's here. I'm saying, how the fuck did you get in my house? Like,
what's going on here?
Why are you in my house? Like, there would be no, hey, she's here. You should wake up and see what's wrong. And it's like, no, I'd be like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, what in the hell? And that's why it was so
creepy
confusing,
child.
because they thought it was his daughter or her daughter or something like that. And it's like, no, it was the neighbor girl. And it's just, I don't know. That's one of the things that bugs me about the movie is like, why is she in the house? And she was a zombie. She was a zombie.
And apparently they don't lock their doors in Suburbia Land. She was
guess.
somehow able to open their front door. She left it open.
Yeah.
Because that's how the husband, when she's leaving in the car, he gets out, is that he just runs out the open door. So that part's not explained in any way or form, but
and
she does supposed to be.
She has that nice fall in the tub that I was like, damn, that would hurt. And Ving Rhames hitting his elbow on the spigot.
Oof.
Dude, that kills me every time. I'm like, ugh, God, that would hurt like hell. And the way they do it too, the close up and the ting, it's like, God, Jesus.
Ends it. Yeah.
Love it. It's so great. It's
certain injuries that always get us in a film, and you and I had mentioned that one, and I also said, like, if just your feet getting cut, the Achilles heel,
Pet Cemetery, Achilles tendon. I'm like, no, sir. Or one of the worst ones was one of the saws, they had rings attached to his thing, and he had to pull them out, and it's awful. And there was one in
I had mentioned Urban Legend.
Hostel.
Hostel, yeah, that one had one too.
Yeah, like God, man, enough with the and tongue stuff, like in eyeballs and tongue stuff. So, yeah, like good Lord. But they had like what was it I watched last night? A classic horror story or something like that. It's on Netflix. It's a new one, and there's a scene with some eyeball stuff, and like it's like every Italian movie you see, it's an Italian movie. Every Italian movie you see has a close-up of something almost touching someone's eye. And I'm like, it's every single Italian horror movie. And it happened. And I'm like, what in the hell? No spoilers on who it is or what happens, but there's a close-up, and it's just ugh. So
one of those where it's like, yeah, yes, that was definitely one of them.
Yeah, no spoilers because it's a new movie. So,
yeah. Obviously, with Dawn of the Dead, we don't have to worry about that because it's from 2004. Oh, look, my light's going again. Yay, oh, well, whatever.
Back. The ghost is back. Yeah, Fear Street. It's Sarah Fear.
It's a cheap light, so I can't expect much out of it. Oh, yeah. But so
seen Fear Street yet?
No. Oh. When do I have time?
How dare you not watch the movie that literally
everybody's watching? Once again, when do I have time?
I don't know. I mean, like if you want like a mini review of it, it's good, but it's definitely Fear Street. Like it's not going to be like a hardcore horror movie, but it's good. It's cool how they all three link together. That's cool.
And that's what I've been told. And I think the one I'm going to be the most excited about will be the second one, which is at the campgrounds and that kind of stuff.
I thought that was the worst one. I did. And that
was like best. That was like an homage to the slasher film. See, and I've heard different reviews from so many different people. Everybody has a different favorite one. I've heard the first one's the best one. The second one, I've heard the third one's the best one.
They had whose was it? Someone said, "Hey, rank the Fear Street movies." And when you look at their comments, like the comment 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were all different rankings. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like that is so cool. Like it's like it's division, and I love it. Like this is fantastic. And it's
where they're equal.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. You should watch them. And I watched Escape Room 2 in theaters, and it was not 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb up. That's what we get.
1 thumb up? Only one?
Yeah, well, because it's a very generic PG-13 horror movie. It's very not R. Like all the violence is kind of off screen, and it's cool though. It's got a great story, and the puzzles are really cool, especially when they figure them out. And you're like, oh, I would have figured that out. No, I wouldn't. But but it's cool though. Like
I've done an escape room before. Pre-COVID, it would have been Halloween 2019. Me and my husband and a group of friends went and did an escape room, and that was pretty cool. We solved it.
I got banned from an escape room.
Why? Why?
Well, I got to do it for free for one, because my buddy worked there, and I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, I'm bored. I'm just going to go do this escape room. And they always have that door at the end that you walk through, the exit that you walk through, and there's always someone waiting for you that's like, oh, congratulations. And I walk through the door, and the dude just goes, oh, what the hell? Because it had only been like 4 minutes. I like finished it all in 4 minutes, and he was like, you cheated. There's no way you knew all the answers. And I'm like, and I finished it in 4 minutes, and they were like, well, you're banned. And I'm like, because you cheat. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But like when you go to like the Yelp reviews, everyone says the puzzles are too easy. Every single person said it. So it's like, it's not just me being kind of smart. It really was just really easy puzzles. But I got banned.
Which you should have called him out on that and been like, apparently it was, good.
I said, dude,
But
these puzzles are fucking easy. I'm like, because you find there was one of them where you find the numbers, but they're in order. Like you actually find them and they have numbers like that can tell you, like it was like, I don't remember the code. It was like 2 3 4 5, and you find them 2 3 4 5 and they're in order. And you're like, dude, mix that shit up, man. Give a book or something that says like you open it up and it's like there's the order. It's like you found all the numbers, but you also got to find the order. It's like,
yeah,
no, instead you put them in order. And I'm just like, open the safe and there's the next clue. And I'm like, this is stupid. And I finished it in 4 minutes. That is still the record, because the record before that was like 12 minutes or something. So like I just finished it in 4. Like this is
by yourself on top of that.
Oh yeah, I was by myself. I didn't get to go in with a group. So it was there at this escape room you can do solo or group. The solo rooms are different from the group rooms. So the solo room doesn't require teamwork. This one does. It's like it wasn't anything special. I am not smart. I am not smarter than anybody. Like it just so happened that I got everything right. Has nothing to do with my intelligence. It was just an easy puzzle room. That is all. Like, no.
That was on the creator for that one.
Yes, that is not a braggadocious thing on my part. Like it's just but there's a lot of problem solving in Dawn of the Dead. So
yes. And so one thing that I really did like from this film was obviously with the zombie baby and that I didn't like that, my favorite character was killed off in that part, because that was Norma's character.
Norma.
But knowing the facts about finding out about with the zombie baby, that obviously with the baby, they're like, what can we do to make this thing look creepy? Because it's a real baby that they did makeup on, but come to find out they used all food products. So foods like yogurt and that kind of stuff to colorize this baby's skin. And to get its eyes to look the way that they did, they used somehow green screen. And I'm not sure exactly how they would have done it, but yeah, they used green screen to somehow go over the eyes so that they could manipulate it to look like what it ends up being in the film.
Yeah, and I hate like saying like bad things about this film because it's one of my favorite films, but the baby was one of the worst parts because it doesn't look good. It looks horrible. It looks so bad that people
which
don't
might be
know.
the food thing.
Yeah, well, people don't know. Like people actually thought the entire baby was CGI. That's how bad it looked. But the only thing CGI on that baby were the hands and the eyes. Everything else was real baby. And it's like, but it did look so bad. The eyes looked so bad. Like no, that's not where it's at, man. But
although Zack Snyder does pride himself in the fact that he used very little CGI in this film. Yes. So
practical effects. That's where I really wish we would go back to horror using practical effects. Like I don't mind action movies using CGI. I am a stupid fan of Lord of the Rings, and that movie's like 90% CGI.
You kind of have to for a lot of that.
Yeah, and that's fine. Those movies, cool. But horror, I really wish would just go back to practical effects. A lot of people say, you can't get a really good head explosion practical. I'm like, you haven't seen Scanners. So like, yes, you can. You can get really good effects. Like Child's Play 2 had awesome practical effects. No CGI. And it's just, I think the oversaturation of CGI is like really killing a lot of the visceral like greatness of horror. So, but I mean, look at
definitely agree with that.
Yeah, look at Nightmare on Elm Street. That's Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. That is what destroys. Sorry, Laszlo, I know you're listening. Laszlo truly believes that the remake's better than the original, but like, I thought he was kidding. He is not kidding. He is very serious. But the CGI in that movie was so bad that it ruined the movie. And but to go Laszlo, like the reason why is because he said he felt more for the characters and that he felt the characters were actually in danger. Like
more connectable. Yeah.
He connected more with these characters than he did with Nancy and Glenn. And honestly, I may get a lot of hate for this, but I will agree with him on that. The characters in that movie were more relatable, whereas Nancy and Glenn and Tina and everybody were very likable. So you had likable versus relatable.
Yeah.
Yes. But I don't know, CGI, man. And there was no CGI in this. The blood splatters were blood. I mean, even the opening credits, when you see the blood just splat across the screen, that was real human blood. Like, and they just put a leaf blower to it. So awesome. Love it. Got Michael Myers going on, by the way.
Where did he come up with the idea that he wanted to use the blood in order for the credits and that?
I have no idea. That was not Zack Snyder. Yeah, that was the special effects coordinator. And that's another one. Speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street, the special effects, one of the special effects supervisors was Heather Langenkamp. She was also one of the producers. She was also one of the producers of this film. She produced it. So Heather Langenkamp, our Nancy, was a big part of this film, which I love that little fact because I made you sit through the credits. I was like, no, you have to sit through the credits. Wait for it.
And you're like, do you see it? Do you see it? I'm like, Heather Langenkamp.
Heather Langenkamp. And then Michaela's back there going, what are you fanboying over? I'm sorry. I love Heather Langenkamp. Like, I have, like, it's not even a crush on Heather Langenkamp. It's like, I have so much fucking respect for that woman. Like, just so awesome. Her and Amanda Weiss. Like, I love them both so much. They were the two, should have been final girls, and Tina should have lived, but you know, they're the greatest, and I love that.
And technically Nancy kind of maybe died too. We don't know.
Yeah, eventually. But not like this movie where everyone dies. Like, ain't no survivors in this movie. So it's like
just the dog.
Yeah, I had one guy, no, it wasn't just one, it was two or three. There was three of them that were arguing, that were saying, like, I don't like this film because there was no danger. They just killed all the zombies and there was no real deaths. And I'm like, did you even
watch the movie?
Like,
yeah,
everyone dies. They're like, one guy was like, no, the three of them survived at the end and they made it to the island. And I'm like, did you watch the credits? Because when you get into the credits, you see the zombies come out of the forest and eat them. Like, you don't see
there's four of them that make it to the island.
Yeah.
So
Poli, Ving Rhames,
CJ's character, and
wait, CJ died.
Oh, 5.
Suicide. Yeah.
No, that was Michael, wasn't it?
No, Michael committed suicide. CJ, when he blows up the propane tank, when the zombies are coming in.
I could have swore CJ made it to the island too.
He said fucking figures and then blows up the
okay.
Yeah. So he dies. Like, I think it's the two teenagers made it.
The couple, yeah.
Yes, the two teenagers
were the ones that end up like a couple.
Yeah, and the dog made it. So but yeah, it's everyone's there. They didn't make it. It was bad. I mean,
this is one of those, it's not a bleak ending, it's the bad ending.
Oh yeah,
everybody's dead.
Yeah. Another complaint was why do they what was the word they used? Why do they sound like condors when they read? And they do. They go when they scream. Like, okay, I'll give you that.
They took the sound of a condor. I don't know.
Oh, who cares? Enjoy the movie. God, you don't have to nitpick everything. Jesus, man. Like, what? I had one. Oh, like Fear Street. One of the weirdest complaints I see about Fear Street. I have to touch on this because it's so weird. People are complaining that Fear Street was like, what, 1997? I think it was called Fear Street 97 or Fear Street 94, maybe 94. I don't remember, but it was like
one of the 90s.
Yeah, it was Fear Street 94 they shouldn't have had this song because that song didn't come out until 1996. And I'm like, who fucking cares? I'm like, dude, it's
in the 90s, okay.
They're using 90s music. That's the whole point.
And they're jumping in time.
I mean, they were saying, yeah, but it took place in 94 and they were listening to it on the radio and it shouldn't have been there because it didn't come out until 3 years later. And I'm like, dude, if you're going to nitpick like that, like, how do you enjoy movies? Like, how do you enjoy movies if something like that bothers you? Like, come on, man. No.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. I don't like people who nitpick movies.
No. And it happens way too often. Way too often.
Especially in horror.
Jeez. But we were going to touch base on some fun stories for that because of this one for real life. We were going to do stories from at the mall or times we've been at the mall. And you had told me you had plenty of them because you used to work at the mall.
Yeah, I used to work at the mall. I met my wife at the mall.
Let's hear some of your best ones, and then I'll share mine.
I mean, I met my wife at the mall. That's not so much. It's funny the way because we met. I made her laugh. She was dating a guy that worked close to like next door to me, and I saw her. We became friends, and she was always hitting on me, and I was just like, "Nah, I'm good." Not because I didn't like the guy, because he was cheating on her. He was an asshole. But like it was just like she was 20 when we met and I was 33, so I'm like, that's a little weird. But like she finally came in one day and just threw her phone at me and said, "You know how to work it, put your number in there, bitch." I was like, okay. But I mean, I was just I used to be a model. That's something that people might not know. I used to model. And I was discovered at the mall because I was wearing a leather jacket, and a guy came up to me and was like, "Dude, you look real good in that leather jacket." And immediately I'm like, "Whoa, dude, I don't back for that team, sorry." And but he was just like, "No, he's like, no, I'm a photographer and I would like to take a picture." And immediately I'm still on the defensive, but the thing was the dude gave me a good vibe. So I was like, you know what? Yeah. And he gave me his card and I ended up calling him up and I had some pictures taken. So I didn't have to get naked, nothing like that. So none of that happened. But I'd say
you still have those pictures.
Okay. So the funniest thing that I did at the mall was with a friend that I worked with, where we got kicked out of the mall. Luckily, we didn't get banned.
Good thing.
Yeah. So we had a Halliburton briefcase, which is a metal briefcase. And he was at one end of the mall. I was at the other end of the mall. And I had a bag not a bag. I had nothing. And he had the thing. And we just started walking towards each other. We just called each other, texted each other. It was like, "Hey, go." And we started walking towards each other. And when we saw each other, he stopped, dropped the briefcase, walked by, and I picked it up and walked the other direction. And we were almost immediately flanked. Like security just woof. And he was like, "Where are you going?" And we were like, "Oh shit," like that. And like he was like, "No, we can't open the briefcase, it's a bomb." And I'm like, "I assure you it's not a bomb." And it's like we have to. And the guy ended up opening the bomb and had a banana in it. And I just took the banana. I'm like, "It's good for potassium." And it was just
my God.
We got taken to the security office. I worked at this mall. Just like we got taken to the security office and they were just like, they had already called the cops. We were like, shit. And the cops came.
You're like, "I'm in so much trouble."
Yeah, we were so fucked because we thought they were going to call like Homeland Security or something, but they called the cops and the cops got there. And I'm telling this cop, I'm like, he's like, what were you thinking? I'm like, "Well, we thought it'd be funny." And he's like, "Well, what'd you have in the briefcase?" I'm like, "A banana. It's good for potassium." The guy just stoic, just he started cracking up and he was like, "All right, dude, get out." Like, I was like,
get out of here.
You're banned. And I'm like, "I work here." And he was just like, "All right, you're not banned, but yeah, just get out, dude." He's like, he's like, "Don't do that again. That was stupid." Like, but it was funny. He was like, "Yeah, it was funny, but just don't do that again."
But don't do it again.
Yeah. But oh yeah. I've had so many things happen at the mall. Almost got beat up by a black guy because I have these two little Thanks. This one says a man chooses, a slave obeys. And I was showing a guy some jewelry with this hand only, and he saw it. And the black guy just said, a slave obeys, huh? I'm like, oh no. I'm like, it's a set, dude. A man chooses, a slave obeys. He's like, yeah, I know it's from Bioshock. I was just fucking with you. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
They're like, thank God, please don't kill me.
Don't kill me. But yeah, I mean, we worked at like a good mall. Like people would steal from there all the time. We got to see people get tackled all the time. There was people shot there before. Oh yeah, lots of
My
action.
local mall, I was gonna say my local mall, it's in a scary area. So yeah, there's been shootings out there several times. So we're very cautious about shopping out there.
We have like we got a hot topic, a box lunch. We got all the good stuff, and our food court sucks. But I mean, it's a good mall. But lately, it's been like they've been putting a lot of like really shitty things in there, like things are like $7 and below and stuff like that, where everything costs $7 and
They might not be able to, because I mean, with everything closing, that they probably have limited things they can bring in.
Oh yeah, like we just got an H&M, which is a clothing store. We just got one. We have never had a Macy's. Like it's crazy. We had J.C. Penney's. We had a Sears, which is closed. But it's now that's a Dick's Sporting Goods.
No.
GameStop's still around.
Take over.
Yeah, GameStop's still around, stuff like that. But if you go into our mall, it's like this mall when it opened, and I'm not even exaggerating this at all. This mall when it opened, people would wear collared shirts and ties and stuff to this mall. It was a big deal, and it was known as the rich mall because we had another one down the road called Easttown Mall. We work at Westtown Mall, but this was like Easttown Mall. The problem was in the 90s, the Biggie and Tupac East Coast, West Coast thing happened, and they had to change the name of Easttown Mall to Knoxville Center because East and West actually became a problem. But Easttown or Knoxville Center Mall had closed about 2 or 3 years ago. It just shut down. They just didn't have any money. And Westtown, like they used to wear ties and suits to this place, and now it's you go in there and you're lucky to see maybe 20 to 30 people in this mall. It is dying, and it's sad because they used to have a Barnes and Noble in there and they closed it, and everything else. They had a Brookstone. Now I can't get my books fucking anywhere.
Except online. Yeah.
I don't do that. I hate that shit. But it'll be all right. I'm looking for one book in particular and I can never fucking find it. So, but it's all right. It is what it is. I mean, it's theft in that mall is real bad. So, but it was, I mean, it's a fun time. I met celebrities in that mall before and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I met my wife in that mall. So I actually, and this is where like everyone who knows me from Twitter thinks I'm this like sweetheart, romantic, just perfect human being. And I'm not. I proposed to my wife in the parking lot of that mall. Like she was sitting in the.
Well, you met her there, so.
Yeah. She was sitting in the car, and I got down on one knee next to her while her butt was in the car and my knee was on the asphalt. And just like, hey, yo, you're gonna marry me now, right? So it's like, and it wasn't romantic. Like it just happened. My wife thinks it's the most romantic thing ever because that's where we met and everything else. But it's like, at the time, it was, I'm going to throw up if I don't do it now. So, because I was so nervous, and I am divorced. Like, but asking her to marry me was fucking nerve wracking. Anyway,
when you're like, yep, this is the real deal.
Yeah, like it was crazy. But I'm sure you have just plenty of mall stories. There's drugs and alcohol and just like probably prostitution, you know.
All the time.
Prostitute out there took
all the time.
Yeah, you know, I want to hear it.
I have I'm gonna go with the funniest one that I have.
Yeah.
So I've mentioned her name before, but from now on, I'm just going to call her S. I don't want to use people's real names anymore, just because if I don't have permission
Sally.
to use their names. Yeah, I could call her Sally. She's Mustang Sally. But let's call her Sally. And the other one we will call Beth. And The guys we will call Ben and Brandon. Let's go with that. So, but so Sally had a little problem where she was in a relationship with a very toxic person, which this would be Brandon. And, but Sally herself really wasn't a good person either. So they just had a very toxic relationship together. And me being the person that I was always making excuses for Sally and this and that, like, oh, she's going to get better, because she would always complain about her boyfriend and say how abusive he was and this and that. So we were always telling her, it's like, then get out of the relationship. It's like, why are you with him? Well, because I love him. And it's like, but if he's verbally abusive to you and he's an asshole to you and he controls you and tells you what to do, get out of the relationship. That's not love. That's called someone being a narcissist and trying to control your life. So she finally met someone, and this would be, what was the name I gave the other guy? Let's call this one B.
Yeah.
But so she met B, because they both have names that start with B. And all of a sudden she started realizing, oh, well, maybe I can be with a good, decent guy, because this guy is a really nice guy and this and that. And this one actually opened up her eyes to where she finally broke up with Brandon and got away from him and went with this B guy. And B guy realized that Sally's not really a good person. And he's like, I don't want to be with this girl. So B guy left her. So what does she do? She goes back to the original boyfriend, just kind of like falls back into that relationship. So just kind of an underlying story so that you kind of understand. So Sally invites me, my husband, and Beth out to go to the mall with them. And at first, we just thought it was going to be Sally, because we know that Brandon doesn't like any of us, because he knows none of us like him. Well, all of a sudden, we get there and we realize he's the one driving the car. So when we had kind of like pulled her to the side and we're like, well, what's he doing here? And she's like, well, he doesn't trust any of you, so he wants to come along. And it's like, do you not see a problem with this, that if your boyfriend doesn't trust any of your friends and you don't see an issue or a problem with this? And she's like, well, no. Well, this in turn kind of ticked Beth off, where she's like, okay. And she's blunt as hell. So me, Beth, and my husband are all in the back seat, and we're heading on our way to the mall. And out of nowhere, Beth goes, so what happened to B guy? And oh my God, you would have thought that this Brandon guy just like lost his shit. And it's like, how dare you bring that guy up, this and that, da 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 da. And it's like, my poor husband's trying not to lose shit in the back seat. Like, oh my God, this is fucking hilarious. I can't believe she did that. And just seeing this guy so outraged. So we get to the mall finally, and we go and we do our shopping and that. And we meet up and we get to the food court. I'm not even joking. We're all sitting at a table together. We have our food. Here comes walking down the way. I'm not even fucking kidding you. Like, what are the odds of running into this guy? But here comes B guy. And we're like, well, he's coming up to the table. Oh, he's coming up to the table. He's going to talk to Sally. Stand between her boyfriend that she had left to be with this guy, and he knows exactly who he is and what had happened. Standing in between them, totally ignoring Brandon, and just starts talking to Sally like, how are you doing? How are things? Blah, 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 blah. Beth, on the dime, is just like, point, my husband's done. And he's just full out laughing. And Brandon's like pissed off, starts like throwing a hissy fit, gets up, takes his food, like shoves it in the garbage, and just starts walking. And then of course she just sees Sally in the middle of the mall chasing after him. I love you, baby. I love you. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. It's like, you can't make this shit up. Like, you seriously can't. And we're just looking at B guy, and he's like, oh, okay. And he just kind of walks away, and we're just like, did that just happen?
Yeah.
Well, I still can't believe that
stuff.
we weren't teenagers at the time. We were all 21 and 22. Well, my husband would have been the oldest one, so we were all in our 20s. This was around college time. So, but yeah. So that's the funniest one I can think of, is just all of us sitting in that food court and this guy just coming up to the table, and we're all just staring like, is this about to go down? Is this gonna happen? Waiting for Brandon to punch the guy, and that would have been even more epic.
Oh well. No, I've never gotten close to a fight in a mall before. I really have never got. I don't really fight a whole lot anyway. So
It wouldn't have been my fight,
yeah,
but I would have seen the fight.
No. Be all right.
But yeah, so that's my funniest mall moment. But yeah, I have a lot of them where, like with you, when me and my husband first started dating, one of the few places you could go do is go hang out at the mall, because
Yeah,
let's face it, we were teenagers at that time. But yeah, that just seeing the cycle of stores that keep coming and going from there too, especially it has an H&M now too, which not a bad store. We have a Macy's. It's a giant Macy's too.
never had a Macy's. I never had a Nordstrom's. Never had anything like that. Like Knoxville, Tennessee is not. We are a growing city, but we just don't get huge things. Like we don't even have an IKEA. Like our
Really?
IKEA is the closest one is in Nashville, like 3 hours away. Like we don't have anything. Like, we have a Costco. Like
Our
that's
IKEA, I
nice.
was gonna say our IKEA is far too, because like the closest ones to us would be Chicago, which is a 3-hour drive, or Madison, and that's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, so Madison would be way closer. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's all right. But let's see what we were gonna do your pick next, the Sinister, wasn't it?
yep, we were gonna do Sinister, so it's gonna be a first time watch for me, and also because we both love and adore Ethan Hawke, so getting to watch something with him and brand new, I'm excited for that. What is going to be the following film after that then for your pick?
Yeah, I was like thinking like geez, I was wanting to do like either both Night of the Living Deads, like since there's both short and they're essentially the same film, do like the remake and the original. But you
Oh,
also
okay, yeah.
mentioned that you hadn't seen a movie. Or no, we discovered you didn't mention it. We just found out you hadn't seen this movie. You hadn't seen Day of the Dead. Like, and
Yeah.
that's a travesty considering what we just watched. So I am
I
so
haven't seen the
confused.
original. We should say I haven't seen the original Day of the Dead. So,
Yes, the original Day of the Dead, the Romero's Day of the Dead.
mhm.
So man, that's a tough one because I kind of don't want to watch two movies. So I think I'm just going to do Day of the Dead because it's been the longest amount of time that I haven't seen that. And like I got Night of the Living Dead on like 4K, so I watched it recently, the Criterion Collection version.
Yeah.
So I have it. I can watch it anytime. But like Day of the Dead is just I can't believe you haven't watched that, and I want to see it. So, but
And so we get two films that will be first time watches for me. So,
yeah.
but yeah.
But
So,
Sinister is an amazing film. I want to talk about that for like 2 seconds without giving anything away because that movie is one of the biggest mistakes I ever made whenever I was trying to kind of get Michaela into horror movies. I showed her The Descent and I showed her Sinister.
mm,
And the worst mistake I've ever made in my life because she was just like, I'm not watching horror movies. I'm not doing it. If this is what you're going to give me. And I'm just like, no, I had to like pump the brakes and put in like Friday the 13th and stuff like that.
Candyman and all
Yeah,
those. Yep.
Candyman and Halloween and stuff like that. Like, it's like these aren't as scary, they're just bloody. And she's like, oh, okay. And then I like eased her in a little bit more with The Conjuring, because to me, The Conjuring isn't that scary. But like, she was like, okay, that was scary, but I could handle it. And now she watches The Descent. She's like, oh, that was easy. And she hasn't watched Sinister again because Sinister is it's like it's Sinister's so weird because it's not particularly scary. It's just unfucking nerving. Like, it's unnerving. Like, the
You
things
get to watch
see
me
in that film.
unnerved.
Oh, and also Ethan Hawke.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yes.
Love Ethan Hawke. He's one of my favorite actors. So, but yeah, so I guess we can wrap it up, and now we know what the next films are. It's like, Donna the Dead, thank you for joining us for the 2004 remake, which, one of those first horror movies that I can still remember and have fond memories of seeing in theaters, because that was just around the time that I was starting to get into horror and going to see movies at the theater. And of course, you had to be very sneaky back then, because especially if certain films are and having to sneak into the theaters to watch them, details. But want to thank you all for joining me and DC here for another little channel of horrors, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow us on our Twitters. I am under Charcy Lux. DC is under Death Curse Pod.
That's it. I remembered it this time. Death Curse Pod.
I'll remember it for you.
Yeah. Everyone had to, like, every time I do a podcast, everyone has to remember my tag. I don't, because I never remember it. I got a really bad memory. So, all right. But yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks for joining us again.
Y'all come back now. You hear?